Will President Trump help the Republicans running for the Senate in Georgia, even though he lost the state to Joe Biden? Here with his thoughts, National Journal politics editor Josh Kraushaar. Josh, thanks for joining us on this day after Thanksgiving. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution had this piece, and I wanted to read part of it to you. It says, his trip, meaning the president's, will test how they balance his unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud with their all-out efforts to drive up turnout. Even as U.S. Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue push supporters to return to the polls, Trump has continued to falsely insist that the elections are rigged, stoking worries from Republicans that the narratives will discourage voter participation. At the same time, his appearance in Georgia is really going to excite Republicans. His rallies are always hugely attended. Seems like it's worth the risk to bring the president down there.
Oh, yeah, John. Runoffs are all about turnout, and Donald Trump is the best turnout machine for Republicans. He's definitely going to help get the base rallied for those January runoff elections. The challenge is what he's going to say. Is he going to promote the candidacies of Senator David Perdue, Senator Kelly Loeffler? Is he going to make it about them? Or is he going to kind of talk about his own election and talk about what he thinks, were unfounded allegations of voter fraud? And is he going to divide the Republican Party by making that argument? He has the potential to unite the party, to get Republicans on the same page, energized to help maintain Republican majority of the Senate. But if he starts talking about himself and his own election, it could divide the party in very, very damaging ways.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal had a headline that reads thus: GOP sees Georgia Senate races as firewall after Trump's loss. We know that this president cares a great deal about winning, but he also cares about his legacy. So if he can be seen as having helped push one or both of those two candidates over the top, he's going to go down as a beloved figure in Republican circles if he can help save the Senate for Republicans, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is about his political legacy. A lot of analysts did not expect Republicans to have a good chance to maintain their majority in the Senate. If they win one of these two races, they've locked down that majority. But ultimately, you have to acknowledge that Joe Biden is the president-elect, because the argument that's most effective for Republicans is that Mitch McConnell in charge of the Senate is the best check on that Democratic presidency and the Democratic House. But if the president doesn't acknowledge that, it's going to be a little bit harder to really energize the Republican base. So he's got to take one for the team, got to acknowledge that he had a good election. He turned out a lot of voters, but ultimately the election is about checking the Democratic control of the United States Senate.
So are the fears overblown that Republicans would stay home just because President Trump says the election was stolen from him? It would seem that Republicans in Georgia would really want to get out there and make sure their votes count.
You would think so, though there are some voices, some pretty hardline voices in the Republican Party that are trying to encourage Republicans not to turn out or to vote, for Trump on the ballot instead of the two Republican senators. So, I mean, the party, the number one rule of politics is that the party that's divided is usually the party that's losing a campaign. Now, I think Republicans have an advantage that Georgia's a pretty traditionally Republican state. Even though Joe Biden carried it very, very narrowly, the two Republican senators on the ballot actually outperformed their Democratic opponents on the November ballot. So there's a lot of reasons why Republicans should be favored to hold this big Senate race in Georgia. The only way they lose it is if the party is divided, if these sort of conspiracy theories allow themselves to metastasize and really divide the party in the run-up to that big January election.
Yeah, we have a little more than 5 weeks to go, and the folks in Georgia are going to be bombarded with ad spending ahead of that election. $100 million worth of radio and TV ads booked through this week, and $192 million booked starting next week through early January. So you won't be able to escape politics in Georgia, at least for the next 5 weeks. Josh, final thought?
Yeah, message is as important as money, too. And the fact that you did have some Biden Republican voters in suburban Atlanta, that's going to be the key area to look at in that runoff election.
Josh Kraushaar. Josh, thanks very much.
Thanks, John.